I can only think of like historical things which may be too far removed from today to be of any.
The plague.
The plague.
That could be the flu.
I could get back to you on that. Okay. So I'm looking for large for history. I'm looking for large decrease and decrease. Okay. So in the diocesan priests, obviously we have a 28% decrease since 1965. Okay. And then a 31-point decrease in the number of active ones. And also the number of seminarians is down as well, which impacts our number of active priests we have available. Anyway, so the whole diocesan priesthood is kind of on the down. But with that, if you look at lay ministers, those are very much up. We have a 116% increase in lay professional ministers, which would be people who are hired by parishes to work. So that's what we are staff. You know, our DREs, our business managers, bookkeepers, secretaries, musicians, etc., etc. So the ordained is going down and the lay is going up, which is, I think, part of the, I don't know if it was a goal of Vatican II, but it was certainly something stressed, you know, the role of the laity in church. So. And the mass attendance, this obviously has gone down 40%. I'll get to it, okay. And then Catholic elementary schools, a decrease, and then also the high schools, decreasing. And it was also a decrease in students. I know this says schools, but it was also a decrease in students. Okay. Any other commentary on any of that you found interesting? So then to our diocese, we have 155 parishes, 62 active diocesan priests. We have lots of retired priests. We have, I think we have about 24 international priests right now in the diocese to help make up for the shortfall. So we're very much a mission diocese. I mean, people come from other countries, you know, to come here.
Is that common across the United States?
No, we're actually, the Diocese of Green Bay has the, and I forget the ratio, but it's the worst ratio in the nation for priest to parishioner ratio. It's the worst in the nation.
Oh, really?
What are we doing wrong?
Because if you go to like the Diocese of Madison, you go to Chicago, they have an overabundance of priests. Yeah, so that's. Let's see, in the Diocese of Green Bay, we also have an increase in the Latino immigration. So, and this, I have to do a homily or something on this, because I know that there's the desire to, you know, kind of mesh and be one, but at the same time, it's like one brand of Catholicism coming and meeting another brand, where the Latin American is really heavily influenced by the indigenous cultures, you know, Mayan, Aztec ideas. You know, like there might be a statue of the Virgin Mary, but underneath it there's a little, a more indigenous thing hiding underneath. That sort of thing. Or just their sense of spirituality, their sense of, you know, the other world, spirits, and that sort of, it's different. Whereas our brand of Catholicism is more heavily influenced by Protestantism, you know, because we're Protestants, largely a Protestant nation. So when it comes to like government of the church and the parish, you know, we want to have a vote, because that's what we do here in the country. That's what but that's more of a Protestant, what do they call that? Anti-popery. Potpourri, not potpourri as in smell, but P-O-P-E-R-Y. Kind of a thing. But anyway, two different branches of Catholicism coming together. So that's a dynamic in the parish, and of course in the diocese and in the parish too. Okay. Everybody okay so far? You with me? Mm-hmm. All right. This is mass attendance data. This goes back to January 2016, so we have 2 years worth here. Right, got 2 years. You can obviously see the big dip there when we went from 5 masses to 3 in May of 16. The big dip there at April, May, June, July, August. That's of course summer, which if you look at the longer history, there's always that dip in the summer. So that's what that is. And then that big spike there in September of 17 was when we added the 6 o'clock mass. And then that went down very quickly, and I think it's kind of beginning to level out now. Okay. So I wrote on here. Let's see, what do I have here? Parish records show that from 2007 to 2017 has been a 50% drop in mass attendance overall. So there's that dynamic in there, 50% drop. But then here, the addition of the 6 o'clock mass has added maybe 25 people to the overall mass count for the weekend. But what I'm doing is I'm comparing this as kind of like our new normal, because it seems to be kind of evening out here. I'm comparing that back to here, when it was also semi kind of normal. Okay, so we really haven't gained a whole lot from here to here. That's what I'm comparing it to. I'm not looking at this or this. So anyway. Any thoughts on mass attendance, or are you good? Okay. So these are, these are just little community sketches. This is similar to the Experian, descriptors of the suburban, thriving boomers and the others. But these are just specific to the area. More specific to St. Clare Parish in the community. So I'm just going to read this, and if it strikes you as good, fine. If not, add what you want. So Wrightstown area tends to have an urban flavor to it, partly because it's a more densely populated area as a village. It has higher road traffic, a selection of shops, and also because of its industry and the proximity to the Fox cities and Green Bay de Pere. Additionally, the size, architecture, and building materials of the church communicate a message of grandness, which is something one might expect in an urban setting, which carries over into the Sunday experience. Parishioners are less likely to mingle before or after Mass, which is a little bit more similar to an urban parish, but that's maybe too broad of a statement. However, there are a lot of social ties which exist outside of Sunday worship. The Wrightstown area could be described as old and new Wrightstown. Old is less about age, and it's more in reference to family and local ties, which run very deep and long. New Wrightstown, similarly, is not so much about age. It's more in reference to the area's population and the housing boom. And these families will have perhaps fewer historical ties to the area. So this blend of the old and new also contributes to the kind of urban flavor of the area. That is, at Wrightstown it's possible to go and worship there beside someone that you may not know, or you may recognize them but not necessarily know who they are. That being said, both old and new are committed to faith and parish, contributing their own ways. Would you say that's kind of an accurate sketch of kind of the Wrightstown area? As far as you know. Greenleaf. Greenleaf area. Has a definitely rural flavor to it due to the prominence of farmland, the wider spread of the housing, just a few small businesses, the Highland wildlife area, and the relatively low amounts of traffic, except on these highways in County PP. The size, architecture, and building materials of the church communicate a message of simplicity and closeness, which also contributes to the rural flavor. And then, of course, there's families with very deep and long local ties, which, of course, affects the Sunday worship. Parishioners are much more likely to mingle and to socialize after Mass, kind of as an extension of their lives outside of Mass. Okay. So would you say that that's... I wrote these up, so this is the only part that I wrote up. And then the Askeaton area. Again, has a definitely rural flavor to it due to the prominence of farmland, significant distances between homes, the wildlife area that's there, the relative absence of small businesses, except Clare. I don't know any other business. And light traffic flow.
You don't see it either, Rocky.
The church, settled as it is on the edge of a wooded area, has an especially remote character. The size, architecture, building materials, location of the church communicate a message of simplicity and quiet. Listeners living in the area have generally deep and long local ties, and it seems to be weather dependent, whether or not parishioners will mingle a lot after Mass. But again, they have a lot of social ties outside of Sunday experience. Is that about accurate? All right, so that's kind of the end of the parish demographics, trends, snapshots of parish life. Okay, so now we have just two parts left. One is finances, and then one is just some observations. Okay. And I'll say that the financial information here is just parish finances. It doesn't get into anything having to do with building projects. That'll be covered in topics 3 and 4. Okay. So this is just parish finances. So here we have operating revenue since the beginning of the parish in 2009 up until the end of last fiscal year, June 2017. So we have parish school, discipleship formation, and then a total. So we had a very, I guess, a good year last year. I asked Kelly, and she said it was just a good December. It sounded like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, any surprises there?
We're both good.
Any surprises on there? Or any? And then our expenses, operating expenses. I should mention, and Katie, correct me, you want to actually,
You're doing good.
okay, all right. I was going to ask actually, because the jump in expenses there from 15, 16 to 16, 17, we have a lot of, I know we had a lot of technology stuff, which will show up as an expense, but then at the same time, the stuff to pay for that expense will show up as revenue.
It was actually taken out of investment.
Investment.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not going to show up as revenue.
Not on here, okay.
Yeah, the big jump in expense though is the update in technology. That was long overdue.
Okay. But what's not reflected here is that it was taken, that it was paid for by investments.
Right.
So it can be a little misleading if you don't know that they were paid for by investment.
Exactly.
Okay, let me get this.
So that parish expense from there from 16 to 17 really doesn't include the technology?
It does.
Does not?
It does. It does.
Explain to me the technology part of that expense.
Technology, it was largely at the school. They upgraded to all smart boards, I think.
Smart boards, and they needed laptops, and we went with the Google, Google
Yeah.
Cat, or Chrome, yeah, the Chromebooks.
Yeah, but they got all the Chromebooks, they got,
Yeah.
what else did they get?
They needed the carts for the Chromebooks, they needed the smart boards, we needed a couple new smart TVs.
It was like a total, it was mostly school related.
Okay.
So how come it
How
didn't
come
show
the
up as
revenue
school
appears then?
expense rather than parish expense?
Because we should the school revenue are expensive in
Yeah.
1,000 here.
I don't know, that's why I defer to Kay, or I say I'll be back to you.
Well, the orange is the total, and the blue is the parish, the red is the school. I mean, we would have to definitely look into why.
Unless the investments were through the parish.
Mhm.
Because they make the check out to the, I mean, when we get a thing from the investment, they make a check out to us, right?
Right.
Not to the school.
Mhm.
I'd have to get back to you.
Well, that makes sense.
I know, I didn't get a raise. We can take that out of the video. We're recording this so I can put it on the website. Okay, so then, again, this is for the history of St. Clare from its beginning in 2009. Just that 1 year in 2012, we had a surplus. That's the 1 year. Otherwise, we've been ending in the red. And then last year especially, we had some issues. And I'm not going to dwell too much on it, because I don't want to, because we have the year-to-date stuff coming up after that, so get to the present. But this next chart 23, is in reference to that negative 109,000. I'll just read what it says on the bottom there. In 16-17, the parish was spending according to the budget for 16-17. But that spending, of course, obviously depends on receiving the budgeted sacrificial giving from parishioners. However, the projected amount of giving was $105,000 higher than the actual from the previous year. So it was very much out of line with the actuals. And we didn't discover this till mid fiscal year, so that's what we put a spending freeze on right away. But that also led us to drawing, of course, from our line of credit. So that's why on chart 22, the line of credit also goes way high at 88,000. Okay. So we held our breath there to get through last year, but we got it. So we made some corrections for the budget that we're currently in. One is that we lowered the projected sacrificial giving. We reduced it by $72,000 from last year's budget to bring it more in line with the history of giving. So that blue dot up there is where we brought it down to. Okay. And the red line up there is the actual. Okay. And then we also projected for this current year to have over $250,000 less in overall revenue. Okay, so okay. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so that was one of the corrections we made in the budget for this year. And then regarding expenses, obviously lower them as much as we can where possible and operate within our means, which is just common sense. So our projected overall expenses is 1.174 million. If you notice the asterisk there, the budget that we passed, that we're in currently, was passed as a deficit budget, a $20,000 deficit budget. But I thought it was okay because the numbers were more in line with the actuals. So we knew what we were working with, basically. Plus, by knowing that, we also gave ourselves a year to make up that deficit. Does everybody understand that? And then these are just some additional things that we've been doing just this year. We did some things last year, and these are some things that we are doing in our current budget year, fiscal year, to help. So we have some adjustments to the internet and phone system at school, adjustments to insurance. We switched the school and parish websites. We had some insurance savings, and then those gather hymnals save us over $6,000 a year. So, we're trying to do what we can to, where can we save money? Where can we be better stewards of finances? So, last year we closed the office on Fridays, which I think saved us, is it $12,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Is there anything as parishioners where we could volunteer more that would bring down some of the cost?
Well, we looked into different things.
I want to say the answer is yes, and I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Well, we did do some of that with blocking of church. We took that employee benefit package away. We got volunteers to do it, so there's certain things that we can and certain things we can't, but one thing that's going to be exciting this year is Father's looking at the volunteer coordinator position that we were talking about last week. That could be a significant change. So it would be somebody, Marilyn, that would actually be in charge of setting up all the volunteers for all the different campuses and try to increase a database of names who we can call when we do have a project. Because as you know, putting something in the bulletin that you need help with isn't effective.
So the answer is yes, but I'd have to think about it some more to get really specific as to how. Because it's like there are things that Maxine does that volunteers could do to take it off of her table, so that she can be more effective.
Which won't save you money if we're already paying her, but.
Correct.
Get more done.
Yeah. Might increase productivity.
Can I ask you a question on the replacing the gather hymn, or the breaking bread, the gather hymnals?
Yeah.
That's a savings just this year?
In the total year.
Okay, I thought buying those was gonna save money over time, but you're saying it is saving $6,000 just this year?
Well, it saved $6,000 just this year, but then every year succeeding that, it's going to be a savings because we will not have to replace them every year, and that was about $3,000.
But that includes the buying of the new one?
Right, because we had people.
Yeah, because parishioners donated those.
Okay.
So that was right off the bat. That was a savings to the parish
Yeah,
corporation.
and that was a good idea, brother.
But the breaking breads themselves were $6,000 to replace every year. So this would be an annual.
So we didn't have to buy any new ones, they were all donated? That's what you're saying then?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it hit me last year when we were switching out the hymnals, because so much of the music that you get in the next edition of the Breaking Bread is just in the stuff you just threw in the trash can. And I thought, well, that's a lot of money to be, throwing away. So now we have these. And then just a note about the subsidy of the school. According to the Diocesan Department of Education, it should be about 40% of the parish's total revenue would be put toward helping the school financially. So we have 37.6% budgeted to help the school this year. So last year we were actually rather high at almost 45%. So I'm glad to get that back down. And I might as well just say too, I mean, we also subsidize, if you want to call it that, the religious ed program as well. So. All right, so these are the up-to-date ones. This is the first quarter and then the second today. So last quarter, the first quarter, so ending in September, we ended in the black with 30,000, 849. We, in between this and when the line of credit was at 88,000, we had paid off some of it. And then we also put in here that 20,110 that was the deficit aspect of the budget that we passed. Okay. Does everybody follow that? Okay. Okay. So, so we ended in the black in the first quarter, so that's good, 30,000. And then the second quarter, which brings us up to the end of January 1st, we are still in the black at 6576.
But our line of credit is zero.
But our line of credit is zero.
First time since 2011.
Yeah, our line of credit, let's see, where was that? Where's our line of credit thing? Yeah, the last time it was zero was when the parish started, in 2009.
You gotta compare that to where we were a year ago. We were looking at going like 80-some thousand in the line of credit, or 90,000, weren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were
That's
there.
what we were looking at going to.
Yeah.
No, we were up to 88,500.
We were up to 88,000.
Yeah, 85, yeah.
So that is significant.
Yeah. So, and we're in the black still, you know, just barely, 65, 70. I will point out if you look on the expenses, the variance, this is the second quarter, there's $64,000 over in parish expenses. You see that? Which is, in talking with Kelly, is largely having to do with the building stuff that we did over in Wrightstown. So that would be the asbestos removal, demolition, surveys, things like that.
The raising.
Yep. And we got a little bit of help from the auction and the rummage sale, but not anywhere near what we thought we would. Yeah. But anyway, so that's the bulk of that extra expense that wasn't in the budget. But happily, even with that, we're still in the black. So okay. So then I just have on page 27, just some observations from all these facts and figures and things. Okay. So this is just me. One, the registered Catholic households are widely spread, though they're significantly more sparse right now in the southeastern part of the territory. The contributing households are also equally widely spread, although there's almost an absence in the southeastern area. Also, regarding the southeastern area, it's more heavily Lutheran. You know, there's Zion Lutheran Church and School in Wayside, which is the Missouri Synod, and there's also the Lutherans in Morrison, which are the Wisconsin Synod. So very heavily Lutheran over there. Number 4, St. Clare parishioners, we already talked about this, they have easy access to several neighboring Catholic parishes. St. Mary's Greenleaf campus is the only one of our campuses not within that 5-mile radius of another Catholic parish. Number 5, let's see. The 3 primary geographical social areas of St. Clair Parish, that is Askeaton, Greenleaf, and Wrightstown, are each unique. While the area is populated predominantly by Americans of European descent, the character of each location ranges from being semi-urban to rural to remote. Even though there are a lot of family connections, among the 3 areas of the parish, there's still a uniqueness or distinctness within the parish. And then, of course, added to that is the presence of the mostly Mexican Americans, who again bring that other brand of Catholicism, so another uniqueness there. Number 6, some important values among the general population. This comes from Charge 11 and 12. Family, career, concern for environment, the practice of giving to those who are in need. Tradition is important. Orderliness to life, simplicity, a relaxed attitude to life, desire to stay within the comfort of the area, local traditions and activities. 7, within the general population, religious faith ranks only as somewhat important. Again, that's within the general population. In the past 10 years, Catholics have fallen by 5.2%. And the number of participants at Sunday Masses held at St. Clair churches has dropped by 50% in the past 10 years. However, the not religious or spiritual but not religious have increased by 7% over the past 10 years. Number 8, within the general population, this notion of faith, religion, and church is both traditional, perhaps in the sense of fulfilling an obligation, and is also social, in the sense of approaching religion as an avenue for personal betterment and a source of those social benefits, the social services that we talked about. There's also general expectation that church, religion, faith be not overly spiritual, but rather perhaps practical. Personal conversion to God is perhaps less important than what can the church do for me, which would follow national trends. Number 9, within this population, within the general population of the area, there's expected to be moderate growth in the population, and there's projected to be significant decline in the numbers of school-aged children. And the population that was once younger to middle-aged will continue to age. And I already mentioned that, how it's reflected in the 10-year history of RE enrollment, but the school doesn't seem to have been affected by it too much. Number 10, that was about the income. As of 2017, almost 72% are in the 35 to 150K income brackets. 40% of the population is in the upper end, the 75 to 150K. And we have very, very low poverty level, 1.7%. And then just 2 more. Number 11, the number of active and healthy diocesan priests will continue to decline in the diocese. While new priests continue to be ordained, the numbers don't make up for the numbers who are retiring or dying or having health issues and unable to minister. That being said, and this is important, that being said, however, Bishop Birkin, as opposed to Bishop Zubik, sees the community as that which constitutes the parish, not the priest. Bishop Zubik had just the opposite. He saw the priest as the center of the parish. Okay, that's why there are all the closings. Fewer priests, fewer parishes. Communities will not be gathered to the priests, rather, the priests will go to the communities. That's kind of the vision that Bishop Birkin is having. And again, we have all those international priests from India, Philippines, Africa. So priests are going to the community. It's kind of the new reality. And then regarding the financial health of the parish, we see the direction is going well so far. We've been in the black for the first 2 quarters. Budget deficit has been taken care of. The line of credit is 0. Expenses are being cut. And our expectations are getting more in line with the actual history. So that was a lot of information I just threw at you. Are there any other observations you'd want to make?
Well, just on number 12, do you feel that the reason that we're now in the black with no line of credit is because expenses are down, or is getting better?
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, because
That's not a real easy,
Well,
learn us from an answer like that.
because the giving is strong,
Yeah, okay, there you go.
so.
But so are the decline in expenses, and we've really scrubbed our books hard, trying to find areas we can
But that's
save
a little
money.
deceiving, that can only go so far.
Right.
So,
It's-
we do need to hear it's giving us better, like you just
Yeah,
said.
that's better.
Strong.
That's continuing to grow too, and that's a good sign.
Then you have to look at the fact that we are actually doing things, like in Wrightstown, the two buildings came down, and we're still in the black, so, where if we would've tried this 3-4 years ago, there was no way we could afford it.
Right. Yeah, that's a significant expense, just the raising alone is $50,000. And like Father said, we also had the asbestos removal. And there was a lot that went into that. We had to have appraisals done. There's a lot that went into meeting the proxy of the diocese.
The frustrating part is when you see like the giving going up, I don't know why. That's the hard part,
Yeah, if we only knew what we were doing right and what we were doing wrong.
You're saying the giving is going up.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
Because the economy is doing good right now.
Yeah.
That's helping. And last week was a little wake-up call with the stocks up and down bouncing. You cross your fingers on the investments, but that's all you can do. So it was a good time. What's gonna happen next, cross our fingers.
Yeah.
So,
As I said, you pay the farmers more,
No,
put that right back into the
farming is down
community.
really bad.
It is down,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm saying if you pay them more,
When the economy
then they
goes
put
up,
it back into the
farming
community.
goes down.
We farm, we know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it might have something to do with the fact that we are moving forward. We're not taking big leaps, but we are moving forward, and I think the parish is realizing this, and I think they're starting to get behind us more.
I think they're responding to it.
I think
They're
so, yeah.
responding to seeing action
Right.
taking place.
There's only one troubling trend we see here with their projection is the declining school-age children. Are we gonna have enough enrollment in the schools to even support it, or you keep it open in the future? Now, obviously, it's just a projection, but that's something to think about too.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know. Because my initial reaction is, it's a little scary. But at the same time, so far, it doesn't seem to be affected. So,
And I don't know if anybody else, if you got any discussions, but I sat at basketball games and talked to guys, and that's why I was wishing maybe one of the school board guys were here, but I've had people telling me that Wrightstown saying our buildings are too small for in the future, they're looking for such an expansion of school-age children. With businesses coming into town, I have one guy who works around town, not that he's an official, but it just, he made it sound like our school-age children were going to be increasing in numbers.
We can only hope.
Well, they've kind of said that over the last 10, 15 years, and it's kind of stayed, every year, say going into high school, the freshman class will be up a little, down a little. It's been pretty steady.
who's on the school board?
Well,
But I don't know.
Tom Good.
Carolyn and, Carolyn Green, Tom Good.
I'm Carol, you're.
Oh, is she? Roundy, Rick Roundy.
Yeah, Rick Roundy.
That, that's why I asked
Just
that
something
question
else.
about the capital, whatever we do in the future, yeah, we need to build realistically for us, but we're also, when our forefathers were looking to the future, I'm sure they weren't looking for that day. They were looking for.
Yeah, it's
And that's a hard thing to get a gauge of.
right, because it's like you wanna act, respond realistically,
Right,
and yet also hopefully.
right.
With hope, you wanna you don't wanna just sit back and say, well, I guess this is it. You know, if you wanna continue to build and have that spirit raised.
I forget with that information, but is that for the whole of Brown County or just for our area?
Just the area.
Okay, so what's happening, I wonder, with the other Catholic schools in Brown County? What are they projecting, I wonder?
As far as enrollment,
Yeah, whether it's gonna,
I don't know, I can check.
yeah, that would be interesting to know.
Because they go area by area, this
Uh-huh.
mission insight.
Yeah, so these numbers are just for us, our area.
Right, this is just for, I can get back there real fast.
Hmm.
It's just for,
Yeah,
it's just for that,
yeah.
the whole area.
A couple weeks ago, in the Compass, there was this pretty nice sized article on the advantages of sending your kids to a Catholic school. And I don't know how many parishioners actually read the Compass and see it, but I think some of these statistics have to be put out when we put something in the, like the Spirit for enrolling for next year. I think some of these statistics should be included in none of that, because a lot of people aren't going to see this in the Compass. And like you said, and some of the statistics show, the people with the small kids are the busiest, so they're not going to read it. So I think a lot of this stuff needs to be pointed out. Because our kids all went through this school, and I've got 2 grandkids in St. Clare now, and I can see the advantages tremendous.
Statistics about that, okay. Anything else?
So are you saying chart 4, the age demographic trends, that was taken from like Experian and from, it's on page 8, from the Mission Insight?
Yeah.
Because it is still just so hard to believe that 5 to 17 is gonna go down 1,000 students in just 5 years. It seems so unrealistic. But that's what it, I mean, that's what they're predicting for the trend in our area.
In this area.
But the 0 to 4 are staying, or is actually talking about an increase from
Yeah, so it
468
could
to
be a
490.
momentary dip, because like you said, the 0 to 4 is a slight increase there at 6%, 6.4. Or, it's an increase, not much, but it's there, so it could just be a dip. Until the next bunch of child-rearing people come in.
Yeah.
We have a populations go that way, don't they? And then they go up and down.
That just seems so drastic because all the other age groups are increasing or decreasing by a very small margin. But they're really, that's a drastic change. 1,000 students.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see in 2022 how true these percentages are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Huh?
A few years.
You gotta stick around, make sure it's.
Is that our goal, to see if this is true?
Put it on your calendar, Doc.
Before there was something, between spiritual and religion. One comment or?
Spiritual is, I believe there's a God. I might have a relationship with that God. It could be, it might not be a personal God, it could be more like an energy, life energy. So that could be, that's spiritual. And then religious is, I belong to a church. I have a set of beliefs that I follow, and a whole body of other people follow, and I have my communal practices and such. That's religious.
Might not even be Christian.
So somebody could be,
They may follow different right?
correct.
Very spiritual person.
We're spiritual and religious.
It almost sounds to me like being a spiritual man is very complimentary.
No. Because for us, our spirituality is tied up so much with our religion. You know, our spirituality looks like a belief in the communion of the saints and prayer to a personal God. It's so tied up with our religion. Whereas some people who don't have that religion, they're just kind of, their spirituality is just sort of what they make it. It's not necessarily tied in. So I mean, hopefully spirituality would be a compliment, like this person really gets their religion. They know God.
I guess I kind of, I guess I picture a very spiritual man that had a rotary in his hand all the time, or prayed all the time.
Yeah.
That really wasn't your original definition.
Well, spiritual, not religious, is one thing. Spiritual and religious is another.
That's different.
It actually, I think, changes the definition of spiritual, perhaps. I was thinking about that.
Some people may be spiritual.
Just be careful what you say in my hound. He was a very spiritual guy.
He was a spiritual guy.
He worships spirited.
All right, well, it's 7:04, so I want to let you guys go. If you have any questions or anything that you still want to have answered, either let me know, you can write them on a piece of paper, give them to me. This presentation is going to be repeated again on Sunday, so you don't need to come back if you don't want to. And this will be posted on the website, the video will be posted on the website. And then the sample ballot will also be, ballot survey will also be on the website. Okay. See what that is. Okay?
And that's at the end of all of these presentations?
Correct. It'll be mailed out March 12th with the next newsletter. Well, shall we close with some prayer? In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be, world without end. Amen. Saint Clare, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.